Okay, so I will call the meeting to order at, is it 6:05? Is that what time it is?
Yep.
And I am supposed to identify that this is a virtual meeting and the meeting is being recorded. And I will identify all attendees. We have Erica, is it Champa, Erica? Is that
Yes.
Erica Champa, Huntley Skinner, Wynn Dodge, Judy Babrisky, Andrew DeFraza, and Margaret Hoffman. Present. The first item that we have is the
Judy,
presentation.
excuse me, Judy, I'm sorry. Gary Cheeseman is also present, as well as Catherine Tinsley, recording. secretary.
Oh, okay. I had no idea they were there. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It seems
Also-
like you can't see everybody on your.
No, I can't. No.
Okay.
Also
Okay.
present is Gary Cheeseman and Catherine Tinsley. So our first agenda item is the presentation and acceptance of the minutes from June 8th, 2022. Do you have those, Margaret?
Did I send them to all of you
Yes,
over? Yeah, Judy, I'm cleaned my computers between work and here, so I don't have the copy of them up on, that I can put up on the screen.
Okay, all
Has
right.
everybody read them? I imagine if you've read them, and
I assume, has everybody reviewed the minutes?
Yeah.
Yes?
Mhm.
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes from, thank you, Wynn. Second, anybody?
I
will.
second.
Okay, pick whoever you want, whoever's taking the minutes. We had 2 seconds. Okay, all in favor, and we have to do a roll call vote. So Erica,
Yes.
Huntley,
Yes,
Wynn,
yes,
and Judy, yes. So that takes care of our minutes. Under new business, excuse me, we have Maplewood's request for additional funds. We have Andrew DeFranza here with us because we received an email with questions that I know I could not answer, and I don't think any of the rest of us could. So if I could ask for Andrew to address the email that we received. You all have read the email, is that correct?
yes,
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Judy, if I could, I will make this, the email from, well, first of all, I'll make the request from Harbor Light part of the record, as well as the email that we received from Rick Woodland today.
Okay.
Part of the record, and Andrew DeFranza's response to that email. I'll make those all part of the record and send those to Catherine.
Sounds good. Okay, Andrew, or do you just want to?
Sure. Yeah, we can. I sent you back something in writing that tried to break it up and take the questions in turn.
Okay, I don't have that.
But
Okay,
there's a couple of substantive pieces in there, so I'm happy if you like to sort of go through it in chunks. Does that suit you?
yes, please.
I'm just
I
gonna-
can bring that up on the screen, Judy.
Okay,
Just so you know, John just entered the meeting.
all right. So should we add that John Mastronzi is also in attendance? Please.
Okay. Should I go ahead, or would you like me to wait?
Margaret, are you all set for Andrew to go ahead? Yeah.
She's muted.
Yeah,
She's-
John, I believe John's here. John's connecting. He's trying to connect. Maybe give
Oh, I
him
see.
an Andrew.
He's connecting to audio. Yeah, I see it there. Mhm.
Yeah. He's got the little wiggly thing.
Yeah, if we can try to
we
let him in
lost
before we
him.
start.
We just lost John.
Okay,
Might be having difficulty logging in. Okay. Yep, let me try him again.
okay. No? You want to keep trying and we'll just let Andrew go on?
Yeah, we might as well let Andrew go ahead.
Okay, all right, Andrew.
So, yeah, Mr. Woodland had a number of questions, a lot of which were good. Thankfully, we have good answers, I think, to those. So And we gave you that, as I said, in writing, and I'll give you some of that verbal now, in case people have questions. So I think the short version of this is that he's correct. There are major stressors in the system, which is why we came back. Look, oh, there you go.
There we
Looking
go.
for that. And so for context, this is now happening. Essentially, all of the affordable housing projects in the state's pipeline, including a number of ours, are undergoing the same kind of a process. And I'll describe that a little as we go through there. But the first bullet, these are really in response in order to his questions. There's quite a few, but I'll try to hit the quick ones quick. And then the question about what the state is doing is a little more pithy, I think, and probably to the point. I did on the first bullet just clarify the ratio that he was asking about relative to the habitat houses, and how much funding is in place and how that might be relative to other communities. So the number is very similar on a per unit basis to what's going on in Rockport right now with a project that's just starting. I thought that might be useful as a metric. So gave that to you so you could see that there's some similarity to the per unit number. The second question was related to local preference. This one is significant and worth thinking about if you'd like. Essentially, what I'm telling you there is you can ask for a local preference. You could ask that as a part of your vote and as a part of your grant agreement if you wanted to. The maximum you're allowed to ask for by state law is 70%. Most of the time, the state is twitchy about communities that are very racially homogenous and the question about ongoing segregation. And so they have some ways in which they manage the pool of local preference to make sure that it's not discriminatory, especially based on race. If you have an all-white community and you have a big local preference chunk, the premise is that that would be an ongoing discrimination. So they have some ways they manage the local preference and mitigate that risk. But it's the state's decision as to how much local preference they will grant. So the best thing you could do locally, and this is a little different than what Mr. Woodland was asking about, but the strongest thing you can do locally on this front is to ask or require that we ask the state for the maximum local preference, which would be 70% by law, excuse me, and per the state guidelines, which, as I said, do mitigate the potential racial discrimination. We're happy to do that. I will say, being involved in a lot of these, the big thing then that has to happen at a local level to make this effective is you have to encourage, locally, we have to encourage people to apply. So we just did a big lottery on a project in Beverly, 38 unit project in Beverly. We had about 600 applicants.
Wow.
And of those, about 250 were actually eligible. And of those, about 100 of them, or roughly 40% of them were Beverly residents. So a pretty significant amount, but we spent a lot of money and a lot of time on the marketing, both in terms of local communication and relationships, but all kind of crazy stuff, emails to the school system, Chamber of Commerce, postings on social media, big signage, site tours, like we really were pushing it hard. So when this comes to fruition, that you want the community to be very active, and we'll have time, right? Months and months and months, but you have to populate the pipeline. Like we can build the framework on the local preference basis, but you have to have people that will apply. So I don't know if that's more confusing or less confusing, but you can do that if you want to. So if you want to make that.
Can I just ask a question here too?
Sure.
And this might be a little late to get on this bandwagon, but can we ask for a veteran's preference too?
You could. You're probably a little late on that one.
That's what I
Judy.
thought, yeah.
But on a normal basis, that is allowable.
Okay,
But it's probably because this is so late in the game, you probably would not be successful in achieving that at this point.
I'm sorry, I didn't think of that a lot sooner.
Yeah, it does happen though. If
Yeah.
I had a wager, I would say it's very likely. And again, it's sort of a two-part game. One is you create the preferences, but the other one is you encourage people who have certain elements to apply. So I think we want to be very active with the senior center. We want to be very active, with the faith communities. We want to be very active with the veteran communities to say, hey, this is available. It's very rare. It's like once in a lifetime. Please apply.
I think Wen has a question.
I see his hand.
Andrew, I'm wondering if we request a local preference, is there a risk that the state could somehow delay us here? My question is really the risk from the state side and whether they accept us or not, over and above the administrative marketing type stuff that you mentioned. So I'm looking at this from the state. Nice to have
Yeah.
local preference, there's no question.
Yeah.
In my mind, but I think we may be incurring some sort of possible delay or risk in
Yeah.
that respect, which I would.
I appreciate that sensitivity, Win, and it's kind of you. I think there is risk in the system, but I don't think it's there, meaning that the state they won't slow us down. They'll just tell us you can't have 70, we're going to give you 45, but they won't make it slower, particularly because what's really important in this case, and I'll mention it lower and get into it more, is they already funded this project. So this project is like on the 1 yard line, fourth quarter, 2 minutes to go, like really, not to go off football analogy, but it's very late, which is great. So they're not going to slow us down. What'll slow us down is if we have to get them a locked up budget showing that we patch the gap, and that's when they advance the projects. Right now we're competing essentially with the other projects in the state that are all struggling with their own gaps because of construction and interest rate impact. And as soon as anybody says, hey, I'm good, I figured it, I patched it, those people go forward. So we closed one of those last week, just like that. So I would not be sort of as your as a friend to the town and giving advice, I would say that's probably not a risk. If you ask for local preference, the only risk is they may not give it to you. If that helps. The third bullet is, I think, probably not too critical, although it's important in the macro level, but to the process. This, as Mr. Woodland asked, this project did get Wenham over 10%. That has held. People may recall we worked with the town to pull a foundation permit early, a building permit early, to lock that in for an extended period of time. So Maple Woods has essentially been protecting the town on the 10% threshold for a couple of years now. And presumably if we close the financing later this year, that will be forever and ever. Amen. So that does go concurrently. The fourth bullet, this starts to get into a little more of the meat of his question. So I think it's important to be very definitive that the project is entirely financially viable. There's nothing unusual about this other than the current context economically is odd with the inflation, but every project in the state in the pipeline, and there's probably about 20 that are active now, 2 or 3 of which are ours. They're all struggling in the same sense. And so there's nothing unusual. There's not a flaw in the project or something dangerous. It's approved, it's affirmed. The state has combed it over 6 ways to Sunday, blessed it, funded it. You're right there on the threshold. This would not be a time to sort of back up. That would be a risk, to Wynn's point. What we need is to get the state they've already approved the money. We need to get them to put it in the fund and close the transaction. The risk is slowing down. That's the big risk. So the next bullet, which is really important, is that it's good to know that every project in the state is doing the same thing. So every project in the state, one by one, the state is coming in and saying, all right, how are we going to patch this? And everybody is making various nips and tucks. And in all cases, the state is the big player, just like normal, just like on the development front, the state is most of the money and everybody else is the smaller parts. But the state wants to see the leverage at the local level. They want to, we're all going back to the state saying, give us some more money to patch this. And they're saying, well, you need to get some money locally and then we'll kick in. And that's what's happening. We've seen that happen now twice. And this will be the third. So I'll describe that a little down below. But think about it like leverage, just like when you first funded it. The local leverage is necessary. It's the small money that leverages the much bigger funding to get these done. I did give you a couple of real world examples because I thought you might be curious. These are the 3 projects that we're working on at the moment that are in this challenge in the current pipeline. So Granite Street at the top is in Rockport. We just closed that last week and started construction yesterday. And it had a big gap, not as big as Wenham's, but it was a much smaller project. So on a per unit basis, the gap was larger. And we did a variety of nips and tucks to make it work. And essentially the logic combo is value engineering on scope. That means, seeing if there's anything in the deal you can change to make it a little cheaper. Keeping in mind, we always want to make sure the quality is high, both for the community and the neighbors and the residents who are going to be there. That's the commitments we made. So for example, if we said the landscaping was going to be great for the abutter, we don't want to adjust that. And so but there are some things we can do to make things cheaper. And so we try to do that. That's the first thing. We're negotiating on our debt terms on every deal and our equity terms. And so there's money coming in there, a little more debt, a little more equity. And that happened there. And then in the case of Rockport, we asked the town through the CPC. They don't have a housing trust in Rockport. So you guys are fortunate for an additional 140,000. This is only on a 23 unit project. So half the size of yours, to give you a sense of ratios. And the state accepted that leverage and they put in another $757,000 to get that closed. And so we closed that, as I said, about 10 days ago and started construction yesterday. The same problem, same logic, same issues. And that's how the state is moving. The second one that we're working on, you may have seen in the paper, this is a much bigger one. This is the Briscoe School. This is a huge project in Beverly. We're doing this with a partner. Same issue, but they had a bigger gap, $6 million. And the state has affirmed that they're going to put an extra $3 million in. And we did the same thing, adjust the scope, debt and equity negotiation. And then just last week, I think, the Community Preservation Committee in Beverly approved another $400,000 to leverage the $3 million from the state. So you all are our next one, the third one that we have. We have one or two that are coming after you. We have another one in Beverly and another one in Lynn. You all had a gap of about 3.1 million. We increased, same thing, mess with the scope, increased the debt and the equity, left some of our own money in the deal, which we did. And then we're going to be asking the state for $1.5 million. So half roughly of what we asked for Briscoe and twice what we asked in Rockport. And as a part of that, to create leverage to go make that ask, we're asking for the $250,000 additional from you all, which we will apply to the sustainability metrics, which we put in our original proposal, which are way more than the 250, and that will leverage then the 1.5. You could, if you wanted to, you could condition your vote. I didn't put this in here, but I meant to. You could condition your vote on the state awarding funds to close the gap. That's viable, doable. To your point, when that could create some risk, but I don't think that's terrible. And I think if anybody wanted to verify, I noticed Mr. Woodland asked about that, but if anybody wanted to verify, I'm sure the mayor of Beverly or the zoning or the board of selectmen or the town administrator in Rockport would be happy to talk to somebody to verify that what I said is accurate. If they wanted to, or to talk to DHCD. I know the state and the state and the officials in Beverly spoke directly when we were negotiating Briscoe, because we had the same exact kind of push and pull questions. And that gave some comfort to the state, to the local officials. So you could do that if you want. And that's sort of that's the narrative. So you're squarely in the center of what's happening everywhere. And that gives you some real world, very current data to work with. I see your hand again, Wynn. Is that okay if I take his question?
Yes,
Sure.
go right ahead.
Okay.
I was going to ask about the conditioning of, if we add, you mentioned we could add a condition on the acceptance of the state money.
Yep.
I'm just wondering if that's really superfluous, because essentially we have the money now.
Right.
You haven't paid anybody any money, really.
Right.
I mean, it would be semantics to me. And when you,
Yeah.
when you throw that sort of thing out there,
Yep.
it inflames certain people.
I agree.
I
agree. I'm with you, and I would rather not do that. But if it helps somebody feel comfortable,
well, I guess I'm saying it's not necessary.
that's great. I love that.
All right, that's great.
I agree. Second.
I think I don't want to take up the time here, but I just think this is a wonderful presentation. These are the kind of questions that many of us would have if we went through the original memo that you sent asking for the money. These are the kind of stuff, when you get into the weeds here, you would ask the same question. So
Mhm.
I would say thank you, Andrew, for doing this.
You're quite welcome. Thank you all for having me and being such good partners. It's a weird time. So everybody sort of has to pull in the same direction to get to where we're going, but it's working. And so we're very grateful to be working with the town and all of you.
Okay, does anybody else on the committee have any questions for Andrew?
Wynn asked my questions, so I don't want to duplicate.
Okay, all right. Erica?
I don't have any questions for Andrew specifically, but I did have a question, I guess, for the group, and I don't know if now is the time or if we should not take Andrew's time up to do it. Regarding the percentage, the reserve percentages, and I like keeping Wenham residents as Wenham residents, and if this is a way to help do that, but I also like the idea of bringing new people that can't necessarily afford to come into town. And I feel like asking for that kind of high percentage restrictions is kind of counterproductive to what our goal is with housing being where it is and as expensive as it is, and as a way to get new residents in town. And I know it's not young people in the school systems, but it's still bringing new residents in if we don't put a restriction on it.
I think I agree, Erica. I mean, there's no reason that we can't, on our own, as a group or as a town, publicize these kind of opportunities ourselves and pitch the whole idea and get people interested in people in town, or people want to come in town. I think we could do that, but maybe not within the context of the wording of this project. I think, adding to the list, but I don't see why we couldn't try to advocate.
Yeah, and I would assume that Andrew would still be willing to help with that kind of advertisement, even if it's not at a restrictive process point.
Okay. Excuse me. This is John. I don't, not sure. You mean the restrictive, the 70%? Is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I actually have this perspective. I think it would be good to have that preference, because it doesn't mean that 70% will be filled with local people. But I've always been concerned about people who can no longer afford to live in Hamilton or Wenham and have to move. And I think it would be nice to have that type of a preference, just so that they might be able to get it. But Andrew, would it mean that 70% would necessarily be people who are local?
No, not necessarily, John. There's sort of two variables there.
I think I misunderstood
So
that.
Yeah,
it would just give us an opportunity, so we don't have to worry about, like, when Wynn and Erica, or we might not be on the board. It'll just, that 70% would just help people who might be local, who just can't afford to stay here. And I think it's a good thing to have myself, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I agree with John.
But I think what
yeah.
Andrew was saying was that we could request the 70%, but the state may not grant us the 70%.
Right,
Is that
but we
correct?
haven't lost
That's okay.
anything.
And
Margaret,
if they don't, they don't.
Hmm.
But I think it would be a good thing to request. That's just my opinion.
I guess I'm stuck on that though, because if we request it, then isn't it mandated that it has to be? I guess I'm not understanding then what that,
No.
so what are we actually?
Judy, if I could just interrupt for a second.
Margaret's trying to say something.
Yeah, this, that requirement is already in the comprehensive permit. That the agreement, that the permit that they received already has that requirement, that they have to request a local preference. So
Oh, then we're all set.
it's kind of a moot point. It's,
redundant.
you're not going to increase the amount of local preference with this decision tonight.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
but can I clarify what the local preference is then, if it's not saying that it has to be given to local residents?
No, Andrew, I don't know, maybe you want to explain.
Sure, yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't
Yeah,
mean to
so
be dumb, but I'm not
Thank you.
following.
No,
you're-
I know, it's
really
difficult.
complicated.
It is.
The shortest version is it creates the statistical, it essentially gives local folks a more statistical likelihood. So it's not a set aside, meaning that
Okay,
it's not a hardwired 7 out of 10. it's if there should be in the pipeline, let's say an abundance of Wenham residents, they have a higher statistical likelihood of winning the lottery. Literally the lottery to get in than they would otherwise. There's a mitigator when you have a community that's very white, where the state balances that with sort of the regional racial data, and it essentially gives credit to people that are not in town, local preference credit, to make sure that the mix is not racially homogeneous. That's how they mitigate discrimination. And so that goes to some of your point that would allow some other folks to get in. But let's say, so it's not a hard 7 out of 10. It's a likelihood. Now, if you happen to have 10 units and 10 applicants that were from Wenham, right, then yeah, 7 of them would get the
Right.
first 7. That's how it would work. But the
Okay.
math is not nearly that clean. It's also important to note that it only works for the initial pull of the lottery. So this is really important locally as a way to manage this is so the initial lottery and then the order of the waiting list are influenced by this, but into the future, the local preference doesn't carry forever. The state will only let you do it on occupancy the first
I
time.
didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I didn't know that.
thank
So
you.
it's really important to, depending on how people, so it does both things. I think John's thing and your thing, or, there'll be room for other people, but it also does give, depending on how hard everybody works at the first opening, that's
Gotcha.
the shot. That's the moment when the local folks have a disproportionate advantage based on local preference.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Margaret has her hand up.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to let you know that the decision that was approved, the language says making 70% of the proposed units available on a local preference basis, subject to approval from the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development under Chapter 40B guide.
Yeah, that's right.
That's in the comprehensive plan for this project.
So basically,
So
this
we-
is all a moot point. It's already done.
Right. Right, we'll have to do it based on the permit anyway, but you could say it if you wanted to. It's all good.
Sorry.
So we already are set with the amount of local preference we can have. Is that correct, Margaret?
Yes.
We'd just be
Yes.
being redundant at this
We'd
point.
be,
I
yeah,
think so,
okay.
yeah, it wouldn't, what you do tonight can't change that special permit.
Okay, all right. That makes
The
sense.
I'm sorry, comprehensive permit, sorry.
Okay,
I'm caught up now.
It is special.
all right. Anybody have any more questions from the committee? Doesn't look,
I did,
If we're all done, I'd like to make a motion.
I did put together a motion when if you
Ah,
want me to share it.
No, your motion's better than mine would be.
yeah, please share.
That. You can look at it and we can change this too.
Obviously polished, Margaret.
It's
So the
from-
motion would be the motion to approve the request from Harbor Light Community Partners that an additional $250,000 be added to the current loan agreement amount between the town of Wenham acting through the Affordable Housing Trust and Harbor Light Community Partners, bringing the total amount to $500,000, and to recommend that the Wenham Select Board approve the addition of these funds from the Affordable Housing Trust for the benefit of the Maplewood Senior Affordable Housing Development. And just so everybody on the committee understands, we're not approving this. That's up to the select board to approve. We are just recommending. They are the ones who have the last vote on this.
I second the motion.
Okay, well, did you make the motion?
No, you did.
Oh, okay, I just read it for,
Oh, well, so moved.
Well, then I second the motion.
okay, good.
Well done, Margaret.
Any other, and I'm not looking at John because his face isn't here. John, are you good? You have no more questions?
I have no more questions. Thank you.
Okay, then I will call for a vote, and it has to be a roll call vote. So Erica,
Yes.
Huntley,
Yes.
Wynn,
Yes,
John,
Yes.
Judy, yes. So that is all taken care of, and Gary is here. Gary, could you tell us when this will go before the select board?
I anticipate on the 5 July agenda next Tuesday.
Okay, okay.
Gary, I'll get this to the select board tomorrow,
Yes.
tonight, if I can,
Yeah.
to Steve Poulos.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrew, for the clarification.
Thank you, Andrew.
Appreciate it.
Great
Thank you, Andrew.
presentation.
Glad to be with
Gary,
you.
just to clarify, your agenda's already gone out and there's a holiday on Monday.
I
If-
believe it's,
Is
on the agenda.
Okay,
Right.
very good. Thank you.
Okay, okay. And then we have some other matters that we did not anticipate. And the first of them is our home funds. Our home funds for 2021, which in the amount of $6,900 will disappear from us and go into the general pool if we do not do a vote on these tonight. So
Did we do that last vote?
I don't think so. Margaret? Margaret, can't hear you. You're mute.
I'm muted.
Okay.
Sorry, Erica, what was the question?
I thought we discussed this during the last meeting and it was determined that we had already accounted for and
So-
issued that.
We had done last year's funds. We're a little behind on this, and most
Mm.
communities are, honestly, because the home funds come out and then they'll send a memo, and sometimes you don't always know when that deadline is. So I may have mentioned it to you, but no, we do have to vote on these tonight. So as Judy was saying, there's one that's actually due. Today is the deadline for, letting them know how to expend the funds. It's that small portion that we get each year for specifically for Wenham projects, and the Affordable Housing Trust can determine how to use those funds.
And this does not have to go to the select board for approval. We can approve this dated today and we are
Yep.
good. We have
Yeah,
tied up
these-
those funds.
Exactly. They're not Affordable Housing Trust funds. They're federal funds that are distributed by the Home Consortium, which is a North Shore Home Consortium group.
So the amount that we absolutely have to vote by today is $6,900, and that's for the program year 2021. What we can do, if you want to tie this up and not worry about remembering next year, is to also vote to have the program year 2022 in the amount of $8,061 into this motion and award both of them at the same time. And Erica, yes.
Can we vote to give those to the Maplewoods and then just deduct that from the 250 that he needs? Or no? It's in addition to, not instead of.
You could do that, but it would be in addition to. And the consortium has also awarded funds to Maplewoods, as far as I know. So these would be in addition to those, the group funds that they've awarded them.
Didn't I read that there's a total of 27,000, something like that?
Yep.
A combination of all these amounts.
Of all of our home fund things do come to, if we approve these two tonight, will come to $27,014
that you've approved for Maplewoods.
for Maplewoods, yes, assuming we approve these two tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be our donation win. You're absolutely right.
Well, is the motion just for the 6,000 or is it for the entire package?
Well, it would not be for the 27,000 because we've already given part of that.
Okay, so you got a motion, okay.
So
I
the
did-
motion
I took the liberty, Judy, of creating this motion based on the information we
right
got
here.
from
Okay.
Kevin Hurley.
Okay, I'm just going to read it so everybody can hear it. The motion to commit both the program year 2021 home funds of $6,900 and the program year 2022 home funds of $8,061 to the Maplewoods Affordable Senior Housing Project from the Wenham portion of the Home Consortium yearly allotment of funds is what the motion would be if you choose to make that motion.
So move.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor? Once again, I have to do a roll call. Erica,
Yes.
Huntley,
Yes.
Wynn,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and Judy, yes. Okay, and I have one other thing that I would like to do, and that is to set a date for our next meeting. And at the next meeting, I would like people to be sort of prepared to reorganize the trust. And to, yeah, for all of that. Is there? Margaret,
We were kind of on a schedule of, I think it was was it the first Wednesday of the month that we were doing for a little while?
We were doing
Maybe.
Thursdays for a while.
Was it Thursdays? Right.
Yeah,
So it would have been the first Thursday, because the second Thursday I have planning board.
yeah,
I-
it was first Thursday.
First
We can't do a Tuesday, because our representative from the select board would have to be at select board meetings. So
Exactly.
a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, or Wednesday or Thursday would be fine. Anybody have a preference of days?
I would prefer Wednesday because I have a conflict on Thursdays most times that I cancel in order to be on the trust. So if it's not inconvenient for people to do a Wednesday, I would prefer that.
Wednesday.
Could I
is-
throw out the second Wednesday, if it's gonna be Wednesday, the second Wednesday of the month, only because I think the first Wednesdays are open space committee.
Okay,
Okay.
second
That's-
Wednesday?
So in general, I don't disagree. I am not available the second Wednesday of July, though.
Yeah, I don't think would be. That's the 13th. I don't know. Do you need to meet again?
I was thinking of the second, I was thinking of August, to tell you the truth. Because it's almost July. July is.
Yeah, that's fine.
tomorrow.
I just wasn't sure. I didn't want to say yes to something I couldn't be at.
Now, we'll call this a June, July meeting right here.
Can we meet next Wednesday? Did anybody
No,
miss-
No,
Can't.
no, it would be Wednesday, August 10th.
That's a long time to wait.
Is there anything the trust has to accomplish over the, oh, I don't think there's anything that needs to be done. This is-
Margaret, I attended the master planning meeting last night when Eric and I were both on there, and which I thought was extremely interesting meeting. But it seems to me that, and this relates to what we're talking about, it seems to me they're going to be pushing fairly quickly here, the various groups in town, the pods or whatever you want, where they're gonna create
Focus groups, yeah.
focus groups. And one of the focus groups would be housing. And the focus groups, we would be inviting to the focus group, not just people from our committee, but, you know, people who are interested in the subject, I guess.
Yep.
So if we wait too long, we will not have a chance to really put our thinking caps on here as to what we're going to tell the rest of the town. In other words, I don't know what we would tell the rest of the town at the moment. So we need to meet or have an opportunity to meet well before somebody starts asking questions of us in the focus group. In other words, are we prepared for the focus group? That's what I think they're pushing the schedule, Margaret.
I agree with you, but I don't think it's happening that quickly, Lynn.
Okay, that was my only comment.
Actually, those focus groups are gonna happen in July. They're gonna start to push them forward.
Oh, all of them? I thought they were just going to be starting in July. I didn't realize every.
They'll be starting in July. You know, I mean, if you'd prefer, I don't have the actual schedule for the focus groups yet, but once I get those. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So you feel like you want to meet and discuss what kinds of things you would talk about in the focus group before?
Well, I think we were gonna go into, our own plan and talk about potential, what the trust might accomplish in the future. I mean, it's sort of a very general, we're not gonna solve a lot of problems, but we want to be on the same page a little bit to the rest of the people who would be appointed to a focus group, whoever they are. And just don't.
Yeah, I don't have that date that they're gonna be having that focus group, but if you,
I'm just suggesting the sooner we meet, the better. And have a chance to talk as a group. I mean, in person preferably, but the sooner we-
Margaret, could we meet in person in Town Hall in July?
I don't know. Yeah, Gary, maybe you can answer that.
Gary could answer that better than Margaret, yeah.
Yeah, so the answer to that is the emergency order for the Zoom meetings expires on the 15th of July. There may be something coming, but to date, neither the governor or the legislature has taken up any extension to that motion. So after the 15th of July, under the current setup, we will be going live, back in
Okay.
person.
Okay, so thank you, Gary. I think perhaps it might be good to just have a planning meeting for the trust after the 15th, where we could actually be in person and sort of go over our action plan and decide, I think it'd be helpful for the town to see what we've accomplished, what we would like to do to finish the plan, and what our thoughts are going forward. I think that would be helpful.
Sure.
At
And
whatever meeting we have, we do have to reorganize the trust too.
Well, the
Yeah.
other piece I guess I wanted to ask was, are there any people that are going to be under consideration to join the trust? Because we would want to include them as well if there were others that were coming on board. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, Gary is going to be our select board representative, so.
Well,
he-
I know I suggested someone to join. I don't know if she submitted her letter for
She did.
consideration.
she did, Huntley, yes.
Oh, okay, so there's one
And I
other
believe
person.
They have that, yep.
Okay,
I think she's been appointed.
okay, I wasn't sure about that. All
Yeah,
right,
so
so
it
I
should
think it would
start
be
after the
important,
first.
it would be important to include her in our planning, our first planning session, because she might
Oh,
have
of
some
course.
input.
Yeah.
Yeah.
of course. She's already been appointed, yeah.
On that note, the next master plan would be the 27th. So if we want to try to do it before that, that would put us at July 20th, being the week before.
Yeah,
And I can
cannot
recommend
make
that the trust
Yeah.
focus, I can recommend that the trust focus group happens after you have your meeting. For sure.
okay.
After we have our meeting that we talked about in August, or
No,
after we
well,
have
no,
a
if you
meeting
wanna-
in July?
Yeah, if you want to have something in July.
In July, okay. I cannot make the 20th, but that's,
Um,
I'm
leaves
away
us with July 27th.
what-
I
Summer's
cannot do
tough.
that because I'm at the master plan meeting that
Yeah,
night.
summer's very tough to, yeah.
Could we do a Tuesday that's off of the selectmen's schedule? Gary, are you meeting every Tuesday in the summer or every other still?
No, we have the first and third Tuesdays, so the second and fourth Tuesdays should be open.
How about the 12th?
Yeah,
Yep, I can do
I'm
that.
away.
12th, all right, I can do the 12th.
okay.
I cannot, I'm away that week. Oh, no, wait. That's not true. I can do the 12th. I'm looking at the wrong week. Sorry.
John? Is John still
That's
here?
okay with me. Yeah, that's okay with me.
Okay, so,
Whatever works for everyone. I'm around all the time,
Okay,
pretty much.
so it'll be
Hey,
Tuesday.
John,
Well-
can you meet in person? Oh, wait a minute, we
What
can't
was
meet
that?
in person.
we can't meet in person on
The
the 12th.
emergency order won't be lifted until
Yeah,
the
we can't meet
15th.
in person.
Well, we should meet on Zoom then.
Yeah, I don't think we should be that hung up on meeting in person. If you think we
Okay.
should have a meeting that soon, it would be
Alright.
better to do it on Zoom and get it done.
Yeah,
Unless you want to push it to the 25th in person.
The 25th is a Monday.
26th in person.
I can't do that night.
Well, I assume that the meeting if it's the agenda for the 12th, if that's what is fairly straightforward. You could do that and then go from there. I mean, and then with an organization of, then you could do working groups and sort of, something that's a little more informal. I know Erica is gotta be prepared for the next meeting and we can help her with that. And that could be offline. So the sooner we get the trust organized, then we can kind of choose up sides, if you will.
I kind of agree. I'd like to get the trust organized too.
All right.
So is the 12th good for no, Erica, are you good?
No, I am good. I was looking at the wrong week.
Okay.
So Tuesday.
Margaret? Are you okay with that?
Yep, that works.
All right, so we'll do the Affordable Housing Trust on Tuesday, July 12th at 6 PM via Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I would recommend that everybody review the action plan before the meeting so we can be efficient.
And also, if Wynn and Erica could give us a sense of what they're going to want us to do, what they're asking us. I have no
Yeah.
idea.
I wish we knew.
I would love to, but I can't really do that as of today. I'm sorry.
No,
It was
No, no,
sort
no,
of
that's
just
the
an
12th.
introduction to everybody and a quick overview yesterday.
I
It
meant-
wasn't any real,
I meant on the 12th, when we meet on the 12th.
again, we won't meet again until the end of July, so I won't necessarily have any more information yet.
So we don't even know what we're meeting to discuss.
You know what I'll do? I'll get some of the agenda together so that I'll talk to the consultants and see what kind of information they're gonna want from the trust in your focus group.
Who is the consultant that they're using?
We have Jen Goldson, JM Goldson.
I believe Jen is the one who wrote our action plan.
Yep.
Jen is the consultant we
She is.
used when
Yes.
we put the Affordable Housing Trust action plan together.
Yeah.
So she
was.
is very familiar
Great.
with that
Yeah.
and was very much a part of that,
Mhm. Yeah.
which helps.
Great, yeah.
That helps. All right, if anybody has anything else, I don't. I'll take a motion to adjourn if anybody would like. Nobody wants to adjourn.
I
I'll give a
thought Gary
motion to
raised his
adjourn.
hand, so
I'll
I
do
was
it, I'll
waiting.
do it.
Okay. And a second?
I'll
I'll
second
second
if Gary's all set.
Okay.
I just
can't
want to
see
mention,
Gary on my
so-
screen.
Wait a minute,
yeah,
Gary.
sorry for the interruption. It's just a reminder for Eric and Wynn. We'll have them reappointed on Tuesday, the 5th. After that, you'll have to go in to the town clerk and get sworn in again.
Okay,
That's all I got.
I need to get sworn in again too.
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
already reappointed.
Yes, but your name was misspelled, so you're going to get reappointed on the
Oh.
5th again.
Get out. You told me to call Michelle. I never should have done that.
Yeah,
They misspelled Wynn's name?
yes.
They said I'm Alfred, you know.
Alfred,
Yeah.
oh, Albie.
Well,
They
Are
wanted
you
you to be
Batman? Is your alter
Albie.
ego?
the
They wanted
agenda
you to be
said
his
Wynn.
dad. Now
If
that was
you
his
just said
father.
Wynn, I'm blaming my mother now.
Just have a
Okay,
quick question, Judy.
yes. Yes,
Um,
Huntley,
While
yes.
Andrew's still here, is Maplewoods one word or two, Andrew, for the,
It's 2 words. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. And thanks, everybody.
Good question.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Andrew.
Okay.
Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
Take care.
Can
Nice
we
to
take
see you all.
I need a roll call to adjourn. Erica,
Yes.
Huntley,
Yes.
Wynn,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and Judy, yes. Then I think we are adjourned. Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Judy.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks,
Have a good
Margaret.
long
Thank you. Great
weekend,
job,
everybody.
Judy. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Good
thank
night.
now.
Thank you.
Good
Take care.
night.
Good night. Okay, where's my, Andrew's left.
Night.
Good night, Judy. Enjoy Maine.
Thank you. I shall. Enjoy the weekend.